I was in a drug-induced coma. I can't see nothing. He said, no, you never will. And he said, Doug, when I started working on you, your eyes were behind your ears.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Kyle in the Wild. I'm about to head to my friend Doug's house, and he's a legend. He lived off the grid for 70 years, and he agreed to start doing some interviews about his life. And on this episode, we're going to talk about the plane crash. All right, stay tuned. On your how you lost your eye, I know it was a flight accident. Do you care sharing about that? You don't have to. I know it was.
No, I was getting ready to run down to Catilla. I need the bear, and I wasn't finding anything. It was the latter part of October, so I had the plane all loaded up, and I was going to go down to Catilla, down out of Cordova on the coast, and spend a couple days, let the wife shoot a brown bear. And in those days, we had the CB radio out to the highway and called to see what the weather was. And they says, very heavy, dense fog from Glen Allen all the way to Cordova. Well, I got bright, crystal clear skies. Beautiful. It bluebird day. It don't get any nicer. So I told the old man, I says, so I unloaded the airplane and told the old man, we can't waste a day like this. So we took off.
You and your dad?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was going to see if we could find a bear. Flying around, not finding any bears out. They jumped a wolf. So I landed in a marsh and busted the wolf. And I'm shucking the hide off this wolf up on the hillside there. And I see the fog coming in over the top of the peaks. Now, in that country, the peaks are all 7,000 to 9,000 feet. And I've looked up and I said, shit, it's coming fast. I didn't screw with the feet or the head. I just shucked the hide. Run down, and I said, let's make a run for it. Well, I'm only about 18, 20 miles from home. Lakes aren't froze yet, even the little ones. They're just starting to skim over. 18, 20 miles, I'm doing 80 miles an hour. It's not going to take me that long. I got about halfway and the fog is coming down. It's coming in fast. Well, Tonawanda Lake's about 6 miles long, mile wide at the widest point. It's just all open water. There's a lot of little lakes in the country, but they're not frozen. They just skimmed over the night before. I had a CB radio. So now I'm about 10 miles from home when the fog caught up with me. It was a real fast moving fog. I'm full of fuel. I got all the fuel in the world on board. But I don't know where the top of this is. I watched it come in over the top of the high peaks. So The wife says, I can't see out the front door. She says, you can't get in here. We can't. Well, we had gas pumps right out front.
Sure.
And she says, I can't see the gas pumps. They're 100 feet out there. Some people down the road, a little bit higher elevation than where the wife was, she calls, we got 200 feet. I'm only 6-7 minutes out, you know. Okay, it's 0-0. Then I'll hit a pocket. All of a sudden, I'm icing up severely. I bail off. I get right down in the creek, and there was a area in the creek the fog hadn't settled into yet, and I could burn the ice off the wings.
Because it's warm enough, or what?
Yeah, a little bit warmer.
Okay.
And I get off the wings and off my windshield. Now I'm only at this point I'm only like 5 miles away, and so I make another. She gets back. I says, "Are you sure you got 200 feet?" Yes, I have 200 feet. They got an airstrip right there. They got 200. So I dove back into it again. I'm 2 miles away, and man, I'm icing up bad. I bail out, go down, find my hole in the creek. I burn off again. I come back. She's still squawking. Doug, come over here. Judy's breaking in. Doug, don't try to come in. It's 0-0. I looked at Dad and I says, I'm just going to have to put this on out in the marsh here. And I said, cinch up because it is going to go over in its back. Not even Jesus Christ can keep one upright, you know. So I headed over there again. It's 0-0. I'm a mile away from her place and it's 0-0. Well, I realized I was on Jack Lake. There's a big airstrip up into Jack Lake. I got turned around over the water, and I'm looking out at my wings, and I'm plane's getting heavy.
Is it like visibly adding up?
Oh yeah,
Like chunk?
yeah, and it's a rime ice. It's not a clear ice. It's a rough ice, and I could feel the plane getting heavy. I did a sharp turn over the water with my. I mean, I'm right on the water. And I'm coming back up the lake and I can't see nothing. And all of a sudden, but I know there's big trees at the end. So I'm catching a rock here and a tree there, coming up the lake and getting an idea where I'm at. And I'm looking for an opening to hit that runway. I can't find it. But now I'm at the end of the lake, the runway. I got to raise up over those high trees, or I don't know.
You can't see anything.
Oh no.
Just a little bit out the sides.
There's sometimes I can't even see the tires on the airplane. That's how thick this shit is. Then you'll get a little hole. I get to the other end of the runway, there's a hole. There's a big marsh off the end of the runway. Big flat metal. There it is. So I make the turn to come down. And all I got to do is level out, go across this marsh, and I'm on the runway. I'm there. And when I made that turn, my upper wing quit flying. Well, when one wing quits flying, they don't like staying airborne.
Oh.
And I shoved everything forward. Everything's blacked out from the impact. But the second before the impact is still crystal clear in my mind. I had everything redlined.
Meaning you were trying to stay.
I was trying to build up enough airspeed to level it out.
Okay.
Because it was trying to roll on me.
Yep.
I knew I was going to hit the ground
And
doing
this
about
is
130 miles an hour.
this is marsh or trees?
No, October.
Or no, what's the ground like that you land on?
But it's a gravel runway.
Oh, you made it to the runway.
Well, I'm right off the runway,
Okay.
right off the end of it, right on the end of a big
Okay.
marsh that's
Okay.
semi-frozen. Well, we hit. Judy was lying up probably 4 miles away. She heard me hit. The neighbors that were calling me in, they heard me hit, and there's a road down there. They come down. I'd hit so hard, the front windshield went out. My dad's hat, my hat, all the stuff, and just about everything in the airplane was 200 foot out in front of us. They went out with the windshield. That's how hard we hit. And then it spun around and slid backwards. Ruptured both fuel tanks. We're soaked in gas. Dad thought I was dead.
He came conscious before you?
Huh?
Did he come conscious before you?
Yeah. Now he broke his back and his ankle when we hit. He didn't know he broke his back. He knew he broke his ankle. Right behind the pilot's seat, the plane buckled big time. He had his 300 H and H alongside. Well, it snapped the stock, and that's what broke his ankle.
Oh.
You know. Oh, we hit hard. Nobody should have walked away from this plane wreck. Nobody. So he was getting out of the airplane, and I groaned.
Oh, he really thought you were dead.
Oh, yeah.
He was getting out.
So he started talking to me, and he got me out of the airplane. Well, my head is swelling up because I took the instrument panel right between the eyes.
You did wear seatbelts back then, right?
Huh?
Did you had seatbelts back then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't have a shoulder harness.
Okay.
The learned people said if I'd had a shoulder harness, I'd have broke my neck. But I hit the instrument panel, caught it right here, that sharp edge. You've seen,
Yeah.
The crossbars in the windshield of a Super Cub. I went through that. I had to have gone, because that was broke. But I had to go out onto the cowling and come back in because the floorboards was embedded in the instrument panel. And I didn't have a mark on either leg.
Oh.
Not a mark on either leg. And the floor panels were meshed into the instrument panel. That's all,
Jesus.
So that means I had to, and that crossbar is busted out.
Shoulders and arms were all right?
Huh?
How were your shoulders, arms, chest?
Good. All the damage was in my head. They said my head swelled up the size of a medicine ball. And Dad and I walked.
Walked away.
Yeah.
Bleeding. Where's your eye? How's your eye feeling at this point?
Well, I don't know. I got a head the size of a medicine ball. The only way they could tell where my eyes, ears, nose, or mouth was, that's where blood was squirting out.
Oh.
So this guy, he drove down there, drove right into us because we were right on the runway. He took us over to our place, the lodge. There was a guy there had a station wagon. They threw us in the station wagon and headed for the highway. And because there's
You're 20, still about 27 miles from
Yeah.
the cutoff.
So we radioed out trying to get an ambulance. And we get out there at Duffy's, and for some reason, no ambulance. But a guy at Glen Allen, he had a 206. He said, I'll come and pick him up. And I can remember sitting there arguing. I'm listening to this. And I says, he can't make it. He can't make it. That's severe icing.
206 is an airplane?
Yeah.
Okay. So he was going to come grab you and try to get you.
So he did come in. It's pitch black now. He did land on the highway. He threw me in and flew me into Glen Allen.
Now you're in an airplane after crashing an airplane.
Right. And he
Jeez.
flies me into Glen Allen. The ambulance picks me up at the airport, takes me to the clinic. They said, there's nothing we can do. He said, do you think they could help him if I get him into Anchorage? They said, maybe, but we don't think he has a chance of making it.
Oh, wow.
He said, load him up. He fired up that 206 again. When he landed in Merrill Field, it was overloaded on ice.
He got you to Anchorage?
Yeah,
And how far is that from Glen Allen?
200 miles.
And you remember this or no?
Oh yeah,
You're conscious?
yeah. And my wife,
And your dad was not in that airplane?
no.
He was in better, he was
He was in a, but he knew his ankle was broke. He didn't know his back was broke.
Yeah.
And Dad had a deal. I kept telling him, go get checked out. I got $1 million insurance on the back seat and whatever I hit. I have no insurance on myself or the airplane.
You didn't?
Yeah. But that back seat
Is insured.
was insured for $1 million.
Okay.
And if I run into something, it was, but he thought he was suing me. So he never, it wasn't until 5 years later he found out that he broke his back in the deal.
So he gets you to Anchorage.
They threw me into a coma, a drug-induced coma. And the head eye doctor was Dr. Harrison. There was a bunch of others. There were surgeons, plastic surgeons, and but the hunting industry, by the time I got to Anchorage, had got involved. I didn't know about this till later. The hunting industry is very powerful people. And they actually had Learjets standing by. And one of the deals was they were going to fly me over to Sweden because they had supposedly the best eye doctors in the world. And then they determined the doctors I had in Anchorage were probably the best. Well, it was 10 days. I was in a drug-induced coma. And I come out of that, and it was a black world. And I remember the doc coming in.
You can't see anything?
I can't see nothing. Everything's pitch black. And he says, how you doing? I said, I can't see nothing. He said, no, you never will.
Oh.
And I'm going. So my dad come up. I hear him sitting there. And he says, I said, you know what you got to do? And he said, I can't do it. And I said, we had a pact. You're not going to be dependent on nobody, and I'm not going to be dependent on nobody.
You didn't want to live anymore.
That's right. Why?
Sure.
So he was sobbing. And I was more than pissed. The next day, it's a black world. The doc comes in, and I'm more than pissed. And he said, Doug, when I started working on you, your eyes were behind your ears. He says, you know,
You were all cut up and they operated on you and everything.
yeah. And I shattered everything from the lower jawbone up. I didn't shatter the lower jawbone, but everything above the jawbone was yellow. So the plastic surgeons put all the pieces together and anchored it to my jaw. But he said, you cut all the nerves to your eyes and your nose. You got rid of all them. So that afternoon, the nurse come in, she flipped the lights on, and in the hospital, the lights are in the wall. And I happened to be looking right at it. I seen the faintest glow. A couple hours later, my superintendent that I worked for, him and his wife come up. I seen their shadow go past the light. And that evening, Doc come in and checked on me, and I told him, I says, I can see a shadow. He said, like your attitude, Doug, but he says, you're never going to see again.
Oh.
Next morning, I could see more than a shadow. I told him, I says, I'll take you spring bear hunting in a Super Cub. He says, I love your attitude. He says, I wish everybody had that attitude. But he said, Doug, you'll never see again. Third day, I walked out of there.
How old were you?
27?
70s?
Huh?
This was in the 70s?
Yeah, 76.
76.
Uh,
Like the third day, your vision was good enough to walk out.
yeah. But when you lose an eye, it really screws up your depth perception.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I started walking down. And then some dumb son of a bitch invented stairs. That was a whole new learning curve. From that point on, everything was a learning curve. Reaching for my beer. For 5 years, I had to slide my hand across till I touched the beer can. I just couldn't reach out and pick it up. Salt and pepper shaker. Your knife and fork at the table. They had to slide your hand till you touched it. You just couldn't reach down. No matter what it is, you got to work at it and work at it and work at it and work at it. Repetition, then it comes back.
And that was primarily loss of vision, not brain damage.
Right.
It was equilibrium, eye.
Right.
Couldn't make sense.
And so I've had people experiment. They'll just put a patch on one eye.
Can you see out of that eye at all?
I got a little, it's not correctable. It's
Sure.
about a 275.
But your other eye's good.
Yeah.
I only see you wearing glasses when you're reading, right?
Just to help a little bit because they keep making the print smaller and smaller. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Holy smokes.